Hey everyone, welcome back to another brand new episode of the Naturolls. Some of our cast is currently performing some downtime actions, but I wasn't ready to stop releasing new story episodes. So we're going to keep the story of the Confident 3 going forward. And of course, to do that, as is our custom by now, we're going to go back. I'm joined today by Tidley and Marilyn Maverick, aka Almithara and Alocrans, the Moondown twins. And we're going to start in their present, or at least moments before it. Run, warned the Qatari called Unnaturolls, and you listened. You stepped out of the range of the wizard's spell just as meteors fell from the sky. Alocrans, as you saw this happening, you threw yourself to the ground and covered your head, afraid for your life. Almithara, you chose something different. You reached into yourself and out to the natural world around you, and used the wind to pull the meteors down harder and faster. Crans, in that moment, how did you feel about your sister?
Crans definitely thinks and feels about Almi a sense of insecurity, in that he has always been felt like the lesser of the two twins, like the less powerful, the less strong, the less suave. And he knows some of that is just deeply ingrained insecurities that he picked up from their, horrific parentage. But there are moments that he's reminded that it's not without base, and this is one of those. He's a very talented fighter, but he is limited by his, the physics of how a sword works and how, chainmail armor can turn aside a blade or a hammer. He's limited by the breath in his lungs. He knows his sister has none of these limitations. And so there's a deep level of respect that he's learned over the years for what she can do. And there are times it's pretty fucking scary. So there's some fear. There's a reminder that he certainly is now and may always be the less powerful of the two twins.
Okay, so I wasn't initially going to ask you that question. I was initially going to describe what I thought Crans was feeling. So let me read that sentence that I wrote down just to see if I got a good summary. Crans, in that moment, I think you were terrified and in awe of your sister. Is that a pretty good way to? Okay, it's fun that I had that right, but I think it was more fun to have you describe it. So, in that moment, as Crans cowers on the ground, I almost feel bad saying that about Crans.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a pejorative connotation.
That's accurate. That is accurate.
Accurately so.
Yes, it's a little offensive, but accurate. In that moment, we're going to flash back to your past. I'm talking years back. So for people listening, what we've decided to do while we have a few party members who are out and we can't record a full episode is we're going to go back years and years in the Moondown twins' life to their home in Ildegar. And we're going to focus our attention on the training grounds in just a moment. But before we do that, I would love it if the two of you set the stage for the people listening. So this is the first time any of our listeners will get to hear about Ildegar. We'll get to hear about where you grew up, about the house where you lived, what it looks like, what it feels like, what's where. I just want to know from your perspective, each of you decide how you want to answer this, and what is it like? What's the manor like? Who lives there with you? What are those people like? Those kinds of questions. There's no wrong answers here. We're just learning more about these characters.
Ladies first.
So I was picturing the manor being this overly spacious, really, really old castle-like dwelling with lots of cobblestone, lots of musty tapestries hanging up on the walls, probably a million books, some secret passageways that they probably explored as children. We also picture the bedrooms being separated into wings, and the lord and lady of the manor sleeping in opposite wings of the manor. There's also an extensive stable and grounds and staff to match. I picture it surrounded by forest, and with probably a very with a beautiful road leading up to it, and just really manicured trees and lawns, and just like this beautiful, really, really old, very well kept, but kind of lots of history, but also a little stuffy. I pictured a little stuffy. I would imagine the staff to be well kept and loyal to the manor. All manner of, with a house this large, it probably requires a lot of people working there, not just the tutors for the children, but also people to take care of the horses, to take care of the cooking, to take care of the cleaning, etc. And I also picture the manor being close to the town. And because Lord and Lady Moondown have sort of their I guess their kingdom, right? So I pictured sort of like the town that's nearby that they oversee and rule over, and probably lesser nobility, and sort of like their constituents.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as kind of major players in the Elvish court, they are required to be close to the capital because they can be called upon by the royal family at any time, and frequently do attend court. For matters of state, or there's no like judiciary. There's not a court system. It's the local lords handle all of the disputes of kind of everybody below them, and so they have a position that demands a lot of respect, but also requires a lot of their attention. I think that I love the idea of like it being very natural, but also kind of stuffy.
Yeah,
like,
the house is stuffy. The surroundings are not stuffy, but the house itself is just very old and kind of, you feel like the history, but also kind of like the weight of that like feels kind of constrained in a way.
But you might get a feel.
I love how you as the lawyer are coming up with the judicial system.
Of course. Listen, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Mav is like, well, we need to start off with how they practice law. Obviously, this is the most important thing.
Are there state courts here or something? Yeah, no.
So the first article of their constitution, if you bear with me, there's only 48. This will be quick. This will be quick.
In Article 2, Section 43 of the Constitution of Ildegar.
Of Ildegar. So I think one of the things that would give you a sense of how wound tightly this household is how the elves have a connection to the natural world. One that Almi has begun to expressed through magic, but that all of the elves have a feeling and a cultural history of being connected to nature, and that the nature outside of this home is vibrant, but it is directed. Like all of the trees, the like the brush and under like the shrubs around on this like long manicured line, they're all guided. They're not left to grow freely or in kind of whatever direction they will. They are shaped. And they are shaped purposely for a cause. And so everything in this space is, even though it has the appearance of being natural, it is rigidly controlled.
Rigidly controlled. Yeah, there's expectations, there's history. Growing up in this household is not easy because of that, because the children are those manicured trees. Like it's essentially they're elves, so they have sort of like a really primal connection to nature, but they've been molded in a very, very constrained manner, like basically shaped intentionally. I think that's a nice metaphor.
Yeah. Would you say that the manor, I mean, I guess I don't know that your characters would know any different, but would you say that the manor feels like a home?
No.
Oh man, that's a good question.
I-
It's externally, I think, and I think perhaps we'll explore more of this episode. But externally, to the court, the house is, like Lord and Lady Moondown are a united front. But internally, this is absolutely a house divided.
Mhm.
And because it is a house divided, it can't possibly really be a home.
Right. I picture sort of the formal dining room where they eat every night as being massive and cavernous and echoing, and that they don't sit close to each other. They all sit far away from each other on this in this massive table, and sort of that kind of like distance and coldness. It's a house, but it's not a home,
Okay.
right? Because there's that disconnection, there's that distance, there's that formality to it.
And you know what I think? I love that you brought up the dining room, because I envision it not being in like the kind of, I think we're evoking a little bit of like Beauty and the Beast kind of style of home here, a little bit.
A little bit,
but
yeah.
It's not a long, thin table. It is a table that is made of like a live edge wood table of a massive like redwood equivalent style tree, so that not only is it very long, but it's also very wide. And that while the parents sit at either end, the heads of the table, Almi and Crans sit in the middle. And even though, if this was a long, thin table, they would only be a couple feet apart because of this tree, because of the enormity of this tree that was made into this table. They're actually kind of far apart, even though they're equal across the table from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, you guys are...
And like, it's such a it's almost like everything is built by their parents to be a wedge between them.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. You guys are killing this. Now that we kind of have the wide shot of the manor a bit, we kind of have an image of what we're looking at. I want to zoom in a bit to the two of you in the training grounds. You're on opposite sides of the arena, maybe the same way you're kind of on opposite sides of that dinner table. And each of you has some of the family healers restoring some minor wounds that maybe you've taken over the course of your training over the day. So you have people who, I don't know if you two take the time to learn their names or anything like that, but people who work for the family casting minor healing spells on you to make sure that before what's about to happen, you're kind of both at your peak physical conditions. You two have trained separately. Almithara in the magical arts and Alocrans in the martial arts. And this little mini episode that we're doing right now is going to be the first time that you are ever pitted against each other in the training grounds. Reynald, the quartermaster, who Alocrans has probably spent more time training with since he's more of the trainer of the martial arts, is waiting in the center of the ring for both of you to take your positions. Anything either of you would like to do before stepping forward?
I think one of the major questions I have here is who else is present? Because if our parents are present, the attitude that certainly Crans and I imagine Almi would take would be very different than if they're not.
Right.
Well, that's fantastic, and I didn't put that in my notes, but that's because I prepared late and I forgot. That's a great question. So, the training grounds is a kind of a dirt ground arena surrounded by a wood barrier, and then at a raised level on platforms all the way around is seating. And so not only are your parents sitting there watching this moment, but you also have other high elf figures who are sitting and watching as well. And you might, you recognize them from formal events and political events and those things, but you have a scattering of people with quite a bit of power all watching this moment.
So this is a very public test. This is not something where they were like, just
This is not
messing
no.
around and playing. Like there are stakes here.
Right, yes. Both of you have been in training for, I'd probably say, years at this point. You have demonstrated a prowess for each of your kind of chosen paths. And at some point, it'd be really interesting to maybe explore how one of you ended on the martial path and one of you ended on the magic path. That'd be an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah.
But both of you have demonstrated that prowess, and you got word, not from your parents, but seeing them there, you realize now that the word was from your parents. You got word in your chambers that there would be a duel of sorts. And so we're in the moments before.
I think Kranz would be, if Reynald is in the middle of the arena, Kranz would be kind of nervously pacing back and forth. And this is a younger Kranz. He's not as big. He was kind of a late bloomer physically. So while in the present, Almi may have like half an inch on him, she probably has like 3 or 4 inches on him right now.
Okay.
And so he's scrawnier. He's not as big. But like you can kind of see that in like the neck of his, of his like shirt is a little too big. Like his gambeson is maybe a little not quite like the right size for him. And so he looks small.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to Almi, compared to Reynald, like he looks smaller. But you also, like, somebody watching would note that he already has, present Kranz has a couple scars on his face. Those scars are already there at this age, and something he could have had the healers like address and essentially erase, and he has chosen to keep. And so the impression that he's nervously pacing, he's kind of bouncing back and forth on his toes, that there's a lot of anxious energy, but he's actually, he looks like a scrappy young man, and that he may have a little more grit than maybe his size indicates.
Okay. You have a weapon, Kranz?
He's got 2.
Okay.
He's got a dagger in one hand and a broadsword in the other.
Okay.
And so he's from the very beginning trained in 2-weapon fighting, dagger and sword, as a duelist. And so he's trained with other weapons, but like these are his home. This is where he's comfortable. This is what he would pick if given the option.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay. So Almi is on the other side of the ring, and she is taller, as you said. She's a little awkward looking, though. She hasn't fully grown into her height, like it's maybe a recent growth spurt. But I mean, her height is definitely imposing, and she looks very adult. She gives off the appearance of being very composed and self-possessed, but you notice a few beads of sweat on her brow. And so there's obviously there's something kind of churning beneath the surface with her. She reaches into a pocket and pulls out a small silver flask and takes a quick drink, in a very intentional way, looking at her brother straight in the face. And then she reaches into her other pocket and looks over to her father, who is looking at her like with a lot of like intent, like he knows what's going to happen. She pulls out a ring. And this is not just any ring. This is the ring of the manor. This is the Moonstone ring. It is essentially this beautiful old filigree ring that has a moonstone that's been engraved with the crest of the household. And it has on the inside engraved the names of all of the rulers of the manor. Historically, over hundreds of years, all the names are engraved on it. It's also magical. And so it has a lot of import and meaning. She pulls out the ring and she looks at her brother, she looks at her father, and she puts it on her finger right in front of him.
I think Krantz clocks it, absolutely. And just, you see his, like, jaw clench. Like, he's not going to say anything, but, like, his teeth grind. And then he looks at his mother. Who I think, probably for the purposes here, I think the Lord and Lady Moondown are probably sitting together now.
Yeah.
Like a show of unity.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think he would pointedly look at his mother, who is the leader of the family, the current matriarch of this household. And as he kind of steps into, with maybe a little exaggerated swagger, maybe, trying to put on a bit of a show and not really feeling it, but like trying to do, trying to attract some attention, respond to this obvious provocation, steps into the ring and gives his mother only his duelist salute, and then turns to Almi, scrapes the blades down each other, and then steps into a stance and waits for her to join.
I would say that Almi would notice, and she would give him a small stilted bow, like probably not deep enough to indicate respect, like just short of being respectful, as in she's intentionally mocking him at this point. She would step into the ring, and she's carrying she has her wand, and she also has her favorite weapon, which is a dagger that she keeps strapped to her thigh.
Okay.
At the ready.
So as the two of you step to the center, Reynald looks at the both of you, and I think he knows the both of you well enough that he can feel the tension in this moment, and he gives you each a bit of a terse nod. Before we get this started, what does Reynald look like?
That's a good question.
So we're thinking this is probably 40, 50 years ago?
Yeah.
Like this is kind of in the adolescence of the twins. Yeah. I'd say at this point he's still he's not in the prime of his career, but he's like just out of it. Like he probably has joined the house, within the last like couple decades. He spent some time with the twins. He knows them decently well. But he's still very fit. Like he's big. He's got like imposing musculature. He wears kind of a like a sergeant at arms, kind of brocade vest over like that. He doesn't need armor because nobody would ever dare take a swing at him. If for nothing else than just kind of his imposing physicality. And I always envisioned him as having one eye. As having like a patch over one eye.
That's cool, yeah.
that he like lost in prior conflict.
Yeah, he's definitely battle worn. Like I picture him as like being like, I don't know, having like an imposing beard and like scars and just being like a massive man. Like
the toughest guy in the building, no question.
Yeah,
like there's and it's not even
he walks
close.
in and no one messes with this guy. He's and I would say that if anything that affects his personality, because he doesn't have to be violent to get respect, and so it means that he can carry himself with a certain amount of softness, right?
That's so funny. When we were talking about this beforehand, little backstory. One of the descriptions I got for Reynald was that he was gruff, but in my mind, I pictured him as gruff, but also with. He might be the most caring person in the house for the two of you outside of each other.
He's the one who knows them the best, I would say. Like he's actually spent time, he actually cares about them. So he has a gruff exterior, but there's definitely a softness to him. Like he doesn't Yeah, especially towards the twins, I would say. I think that's probably good. Yeah.
I think he's very hard on them.
Yeah.
But hard on them because he knows that he will have to harden them to do what is necessary to survive living in a place like this.
Well, yeah, he knows the environment they're in. He knows their parents. He knows that in order to make it, that they're going to have to be tough. And so he's trying to prepare them in that way. But I think there's definitely like a care and concern behind all of it for him. So
awesome. So as you step up, it gives you each of you a terse nod. And then he says, "You two, shake hands. There is no finer battle than one with another you respect."
Krantz hates that, but he's like, ugh, all right.
So Almi is going to extend a hand, and it's absolutely going to be the hand that has the ring on it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to make a point of putting it in his face, like he should kiss it. not So I'm yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
I think
she's provoking him essentially. Yeah.
So I think as they would walk toward each other, Krantz would get within, a handshaking distance. He'd still get his blades out, and he'd take his broadsword, which is in his right hand, and jam it down into the sand, and then take her hand. And I think maybe there's a moment where like he's looking at their parents, and then at Reynald, and then he looks at her, and she sees like a moment of fear in his eyes, where there's like this moment of vulnerability, where he realizes what's about to happen here. And he's confident in himself, and this is one of the only people in his whole household that he feels a connection with, and he's about to fight her. And so there's absolutely a moment of just pure incandescent vulnerability that I think only Almi can see.
Yep, she notices. She notices it instantly, and something in her softens. When she takes his hand, she gives it a small squeeze, like, this is gonna be okay. I know, like she knows that this is also for show, and that she loves him. So she gives him a small squeeze, but immediately hardens after. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like covers it up immediately.
Immediately,
I think there's a shared moment.
Just a small moment, but immediately they both harden.
Immediately after those squeezes, Reynald puts a hand on each of your arms, the hands that are shaking, right above your wrists. You feel a light squeezing sensation, and then a clasp clapping shut. When he pulls his hand away, or his hands away, you see that you're now each wearing a small metal bracelet cinched shut right above your radius, like right in the place where someone would take your pulse. That's where the clasp is. This bracelet will protect you from the damage you would otherwise inflict on one another. It will simulate the damage, and it won't necessarily stop the pain. But I promise you, as long as these bracelets shield you, you are in no real danger. And so you actually feel in a moment as the magic that powers these bracelets kind of spreads over you. And it's just a moment. It's almost like a flutter all across your body, and you look down, you look at yourself, you don't see anything differently. But this is the dueling bracelets that have been set up for this moment, infused with some magic from the house.
I think this is like certainly something that Krantz has experience with, because he's like dueled before, at least practiced dueling and tried to in the past. But he recognizes that the reason Reynald is saying this is it's ceremonial. Like, this magic is not.
Yeah,
that's right. This magic is not new to them. They're
understand
both
how
familiar.
It works. They've both fought each other before.
but that that this is a jumping off point, that we are now engaged, this, we're about to begin.
Yeah. With those words, you both take a step back. Reynald takes quite a few steps back.
Smart man.
Yeah, and Reynald has seen.
He doesn't have a bracelet on, does he?
No, he does not. He's seen what you two get up to. And you begin. Since there's no other fair way to decide this, I want you to each take your hope die, just 1d12, and you're going to roll that hope die. And whoever gets the higher number is going to get to act first.
I got a 6.
12.
Oh, okay. Does not bode well.
The confident too.
Yeah, right.
All right.
All right.
So, Almithara, you get the first action against your brother. What do you want to do?
Okay. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me make sure I have this right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so,
This is going to be fun. We haven't had PvP in Daggerheart before. This should be interesting.
okay, I guess the question is, since I rolled with a hope die, do I get a hope from rolling? Or do we have any hopes to start with, I guess, because we redid the character sheets?
That's a good
You
question.
each would start with 2, and we'll say
2,
because
okay.
because you got that healing from the family healers. Let's actually just make that 3 for each of you.
3. Okay, great. Okay, just checking.
Yep, absolutely. I should have mentioned that at the top. For those listening, we did create younger versions of the character sheets for Alocrans and Almithara. So
yes.
going to be some different things on there, lower levels, that sort of thing. So.
Different experiences.
All right, I think she's just going to try to attack him with her air magic.
Okay.
She's going to start off with her wand.
What does it look like? What is about it?
So she's wearing leathers, but she always has with the leathers she always has silks, and so whenever she's using her air magic, you feel like the wind stirring, and that's reflected in her garments. Like you can see physically manifest like the power that's just kind of flowing through her, and as the silks in her garments start to move and shift, she pulls back in a stance and points her wand at her brother, and tries to send a gust of wind to take him off his feet.
Okay. As you roll that, Almithara, I'm going to take you back just a moment in the preparation before the fight. I assume you would have been getting ready in something like your chambers or something like that, and your father let himself in, kind of announced himself with just a little bit of a cough as you're kind of putting your gear on and preparing. And he said, Almithara, you know what we've already discussed. Your mother's time to rule will eventually come to an end, as all things must. You are the one to take the throne, and I'm afraid that nothing besides total, unadulterated victory today in the battlefield will convince your brother that it is your birthright. Your mother's coddling of him will not change that. And in that moment, as you roll to attack your brother, you are thinking about those words from your father.
Yep. Oh my goodness. So okay. Let's do it. So it's spellcaster, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Okay, that is an 8 with hope.
That misses.
Wow, interesting start.
Kranz sees it coming, knows that she's immediately going to fire off her hip, and ducks low and like scrambles underneath it across the sand to try to get as close to her as he can.
Is it a dignified
But she
move?
rolled with hope.
Is it a dignified move or is it a...
No, it is a scramble. It is
Okay.
like a, it's not, he has not been, present Kranz is much smoother, much more refined in his style. This is a younger less
Kranz.
experienced Kranz.
He's scrambling. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just, he managed to dodge it, but not smoothly.
Okay. So you kind of hear the crowd with like a ooh as this burst of air goes flying, and Kranz, I think in the moment that you kind of duck under, like, you know that even if you look undignified, there's dignity in surviving. There's dignity in not getting hit, but there's a bunch of very powerful people watching you, and appearances are everything. And you kind of hear a little bit of like a
titter.
Yeah, like just a little bit of a snicker of like people kind of what you assume they're doing, even though you can't necessarily hear the words, is ribbing you from the cheap seats, or in this case, the very expensive seats. So
Am I marking a stress for this? Am I
No.
is it that much?
no, I was just
yeah.
setting the scene. So
Flavor. Yeah.
unless we have a compelling reason to not do this, we're probably just going to go every other. There
that's right.
might be something happen that'll change my mind. So, Alocrans, what is your next move?
I think as he slides, I think he knows that Almi was immediately going to go for his face.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, they're both they're twins, right? They look almost identical.
Yeah.
And they're both very proud of how they look. And he knew that she was going to try to hit him in the face, and at least, even if it didn't damage him, like muss his hair up, because there could be no
He's
greater
so
insult
pretty.
in this
Yes.
place. That's right. There could be no greater insult. So he slides underneath it, and he runs in low, like dagger and broadsword to one side. And I'm going to mark a stress to gain advantage on this attack and use Reckless.
Oh.
Because he knows that he needs to hit Almi quickly and hard.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm going to add a d6 to this.
Okay. So as you roll, Alocrans, you also prepared for this moment. And right now is when I want to tell you both and the listeners that I actually DM'd you both privately to ask you who you thought of your parents would be supportive of your machinations, I guess, to be the dominant twin. And I was curious, if I DM'd you separately, I thought it'd be really interesting if I got the same answer from both of you. So, Alocrans.
And?
We'll find out.
Alocrans, as you're preparing, you're putting on your armor, you're taking up your sword, probably limbering up, because I imagine at least you're probably using your physical muscles in a lot more ways than Almi is. So
His preparation is very much like a locker room. Like it's like, you know, the same kind of place that a prize fighter would expect to prepare in. There's like a table where he can stretch out and get, you know, like if any of his muscles are sore, and get massaged. There's, you know, like essentially a place for him to like undress and you know, put all of his armor on and make sure it's all, you know, tight.
How many
Sharpen
mirrors
his
are there in his
swords.
dressing room?
Several. Okay. Several. But no, there's there's like, it's very much a like, you know, high school or college like locker room feel to it.
Okay. So As you're doing this, as you're preparing, your mother quietly slips in.
Do I hear her come in, or am I like, is my back turned?
You don't hear her, and she stands quietly and waits for you to notice.
So I think he's like strapping on his arm guards. You know, he's got his sword belt is sitting on the bench, like this long wooden kind of worn bench, it's seen years and years of use. And as he like cinches his armor tight, he kind of puts his hands on his hips and like breathes really, really deep in, and then holds it for about like 10 or 15 seconds, and then just slowly like lets it out. And you can hear like his mother would hear like a shudder in his breath and know that like there's a part of him that is very anxious about this, that is like almost shaking. And that's why that there's like a flutter to his breath as it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But then he then quiets it, and steps up to the bench, takes his sword belt on and starts to tie it on. And then as he's tying it on, he would like turn and see her in the room and like stop, like freeze, because this person rules this house with an iron fist, and he had no idea he was having an unguarded moment in front of her.
So she stands there for a moment, kind of giving you the gaze that I think you've experienced a lot of times in your life of evaluation, of judgment. And then finally she says, "My child, I expect you're ready for this silly game that awaits you."
And he would like, realizing he's like halfway cinched his sword belt, he would quickly finish it and then bow and say, "I am, my lady."
It would be prudent for you to prevail. You know how your sister is. She's not fit to be the head of this family. It should be you. And that, Franz, is what you are thinking about as you roll to attack. I can actually tell from your face that I interrupted a thought you had. Do you want to hit that before we move back?
I think there would be a moment of where he almost protests.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the word "but" forms on his lips, and he like staring into the like basilisk stare of his mother's deep green eyes. It dies on his lips.
She is very unmoving. She is, as in that moment, she hardly moves to speak, let alone to, like, after she's done, it's just eyes and a face watching you.
Is she like partly in shadow? Like,
I know.
just...
I'm like picturing like a snake with like glowing eyes in the darkness or something. Like just really.
I think that's exactly what she is. She's a viper. She is maybe the most dangerous person in the building. Yeah. And Kranz is very aware of this. And so his protest dies on his lips, and he kind of nods curtly, and then waits for her to either address him again or leave.
I think that's all she would have to say. I think she would slip back out.
Let's see what happens. Okay. That's a 13 with hope.
That hits.
Uh-oh.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I have 3 armor though, so I have my evasion's 12. And I have 3 armor. So is that 15?
It will be.
How does that work?
Armor is for when you take damage. You can use it to reduce the HP. Gotcha. So just to kind of mechanically clarify, you will still be marking HP and armor slots and all those things as typical, but due to the bracelets, the dueling bracelets that you're wearing, it won't actually be damage that you're taking.
So I think as the gust comes over his head, he scrambles underneath it, and like there is this is a reckless attack, but there is a form that as he's scraping up from the sand, goes from like startled cat to like leaping panther, like in that half second of change from like, oh shit, I'm about to hit, back to like I got underneath it and now I'm inside her range and I can really do some damage. And so there's some nice, very nice form to his hit. Maybe shuts down a little bit of the twittering, the tittering in the glaive, and I rolled really well. Holy shit! That's 21 physical damage.
Okay, so just to clarify, you compare that to your thresholds on your threshold chart, your damage thresholds, Diddly, and that will be if it's at or above one of the thresholds. That'll determine where we're at. So what are your damage thresholds? You have a
8
major...
and 14.
8 and 14. So that would be severe damage. So you can either mark 3 HP or you can mark 2 HP and an armor slot, unless you have an ability that would let you reduce
I
this.
do have an ability, actually. So Almi is going to touch the ring that's on her finger, and it's going to start to glow. And essentially, the magic that this ring has, it's imbued with protective magic. And so she's going to try to use the ring to mitigate some of this incoming damage that she's going to receive from her brother.
Okay.
So I'm spending 1 hope, and I'm doing Rune Ward. And that is basically reduces the damage by 3 total.
Okay.
Which is still severe damage, so she will still take how many? I guess I can mark an armor slot, right?
Yep. An armor slot will reduce the HP marked by 1, so it'll either be 3 HP or 2 HP in 1 armor slot.
Great. We'll do 2 HP in 1 armor slot.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Almi, it's in your
All right.
hands now.
She is going to. Okay. So he. How did you attack Almi? Was it with the sword or the two-handed strike? Was it from above? Like how did that happen?
Yeah. So she
threw the gust of wind at him, and then he slides underneath
he goes low.
Yeah.
He's like, I think his hands, like he swung with both sword and dagger at the same time because his hands were in the sand getting under this, and then came up up from the side with both blades, like in a cross slash. So he's like face to face. You're on melee range now.
Okay, great. So Almi is going to sidestep, and she's going to try to hit him in the back.
Okay.
With Rain of Blades.
Ooh.
So one of her experiences is Dad said it's okay to fight dirty. So she is going to try to fight dirty.
Okay.
So she's going to try to stab him in the back.
I love that.
Perfect. So
let's see.
Spend a hope to use that experience.
I'm going to spend a hope to use the Rain of Blades.
That's outstanding.
And then do I spend a hope to use the experience also? Okay, so another hope for the experience. Okay, and that adds +2 to the roll. Is that essentially correct? Okay.
Correct, yeah.
All right, and that is going to be a 14.
That hits. That lands.
14 with hope. So put a hope back on. Put a hope back on that character sheet.
1 second. I want to make sure I don't have something that might be able to reduce or increase my evasion. We're in melee range, right?
Correct.
You didn't leave.
No, I'm
that's.
I basically am just sidestepping and trying to stab you in the back, literally stab you in the back.
It certainly lands.
Okay, so the Rain of Blades is throwing blades. So essentially, what she's going to do is she's going to pull the dagger that's strapped to her thigh, and magically, it's going to turn into 15 daggers, and she's going to
that's fucking cool.
Try to send them into his back, right?
Okay.
That's sick.
All right, and that is 13 damage, and 13 damage.
So here's a question: minor damage threshold is 13. Is if it meets, it beats. So I would have to mark 2.
That would be your major damage. Yeah, so that'd be 2 HP or 1 and 1.
Yeah, he eats that. He takes it full on. Like that's I think I'm gonna mark an armor slot. You know, so his armor on the back is less. It doesn't have as full coverage.
And she knows this because they fight frequently.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, some of that lands. He's gonna take an HP.
Yep. All right, where do we go from here, Alocrans?
Okay. I think with a dirty hit like that, he whirls around, and there is where there was vulnerability in his eyes, now there is ferocity. And she could hear him growl like very low, only so she can hear. Maybe Reynald if he's close enough, but she's really the only one that can hear this. And he goes, "Oh, we're playing like that, are we?" And I'm gonna use 3 hope to activate my warrior feature. I'm gonna activate my warrior feature, No Mercy.
Oh my god!
Which gives me a +1 bonus to all of my attack rolls until my next rest. So big swing on using this, but he is basically got sidestepped and then slapped in the back of the head by his taller sister, and he's like, "Nah, we're not having that." I'm gonna mark another stress to gain advantage on this attack. He's gonna he's gonna zigzag in, and he's gonna slide his sword into his belt and flip the dagger through the air to distract her from one hand to another, underneath her reach, to try to come at her from the side with a dagger slice. Okay. That is 17, 20, 21 with hope.
Yeah, what can I do about that? That's all that is for sure.
So he's only doing it's gonna be less damage because he's only using 1 weapon here, but
are any of the plus factors you did magical, like the bonuses you just did?
It's all
physical. Okay.
We're just meat out here,
you're
baby.
Meat, baby. Yeah, you're meat, baby.
So I rolled an 8 and a 2, but in the moment, as he's landing this attack, there's a voice in his head, and it's his mother's, and it's that sinuous, venomous voice. You can land a shot better than that, Crans. And I'm going to re-roll this too, because I have the not good enough ability. When you re-roll your damage dice, you re-roll any 1s or 2s.
Jeez.
And that's a 4. Okay, so it's going to be 12, 16 physical damage.
Oh my god. Okay, well, I guess we're going to mark another armor slot and another 2, so... Okay. All right. Oh, man. Okay.
I think Kraz is feeling pretty good about himself. He's he 1-2s her and then steps back. He's still in melee range, but he steps back, draws his sword out and kind of raises his hands around to the crowd, a little bit of flair. Come on. Nobody here is impressed. He doesn't say anything, just kind of looking around the crowd anybody like that?
Okay. So
and then that's the end of my turn.
So Almi is this can't stand, right? She basically takes a guarded position and steps a few steps back from her brother, staring at him square in the face. She knows that he's getting cocky, and she knows when he's cocky, then that's when he makes mistakes. And because she's really smart, and she's sparred with him many times before. So she can tell that he's really feeling himself right now. And this is the perfect opportunity to take advantage of how well she knows him. She's going to use her air magic to try to bring down, there's this chandelier above them in the arena. It's made out of antlers.
Okay.
Right? So it's antlers, candles, kind of this elven, beautiful, intricate, but it looks like it makes sense, right? It's not like a fancy chandelier. It's like something that would exist in this kind of setting that's this elven kind of chandelier. So she's going to try to use her air magic to bring that down on her brother's head because he's not looking up. He's looking all around him. She's going to take a look at her father and give him a nod. This is what we discussed, right? And she's going to use her experience, which is heir to the throne. Like she's self-possessed. She has this knowledge that she's the rightful heir. And she's going to try to bring down the sky on her brother.
Okay.
So I have a question, Mike.
Okay.
Are we doing reactions here? Because I think I heard my sister say she was stepping away from him. And if she's leaving melee range, warriors, particularly called the Slayer Warriors, have attacks of opportunity when enemies attempt to leave melee range.
Daggerheart thing. Wow, that's toxic.
Okay.
It's not for everybody. It's just for this particular class of warrior. I have options.
Okay.
If she's leaving melee range, I can prevent her from leaving.
Well, I don't have to leave melee range, do I?
Wait, hold on. I think that would be a fair call, but my question is, if Mav is goading the crowd, does he have
the wherewithal? Is he paying attention?
Cool I am.
Do you want to give me a roll? Like I'll roll for it.
How about?
What do you think? Would it be a presence roll? It's gonna be a flat roll. It's literally my presence is 0
sure.
plus 0.
Let's go ahead and do a presence roll and see how that goes. To see if you are caught up in your gloating so much.
That's a crit.
Jeez.
I rolled double 9s.
All right.
I'm trying, man.
All right.
So, if I think he is, so I have options with attack of opportunity. I think, and it's the person moving can't move from where they are. I can deal damage to them equal to the primary weapon's damage, or you move with them. I think in what makes sense in this duel is he is so cognizant of how much stronger she is that he knows that she can't get out of his grasp. Like, he has to stay close. And so while he's gloating, he sees her start to dart back, and he would, in a very, very, like, maybe a very nice prescient vision of how smooth Kranz eventually becomes at this. Like, steps into her movement and stays with her as she backs away. And so he, like, matches her movement perfectly. And he knows her, almost better than he knows himself. He sees her trying to get away, and he stays right up close with her. Okay. So that they're still almost nose to nose.
Okay.
That's not fair, because
doesn't do any damage.
I was gonna do. That's so cool.
Doesn't do any damage, but he stays right with her.
That's so uncool.
I think that was what you were planning on doing, Almi, but I think when your brother moves with you, I think you still have an option to, you didn't roll your dice. You can recalculate. I
haven't done anything yet.
You can recalculate and make a different decision. And
who's playing dirty now?
And one thing that I want you both to do is give me an instinct roll, both of you. I want to see if the two of you see something.
I've got a 14 with hope.
Okay.
18 with hope.
Okay.
Yeah, finally a good one for me.
Kranz doesn't see this, but Almi does. Almi, as you take a step back and your brother moves with you, out of the corner of your eye, you see your father, the Lord of Moondown, exchange a look with Reynald. And in this just fraction of a moment, you see Reynald's head lower slightly. And then something happens.
What happens?
You don't see.
Yeah, what happens?
You
Tell
don't
us.
see that. You don't see that, but you know that Reynald and your father have exchanged a look.
Mm.
So,
All right.
it is your turn, Olmi.
Okay. I am going to, since he's right next to me, I am going to, let's see. I'm going to stay within melee range.
I can only use one reaction. I can only use one reaction a turn. So
I'm staying within
I also
melee
have no
range.
hope left. I've used all of my hope, so it's I can't do anything.
I'm going to stay with within my melee range, and I'm going to try to attack him with my dagger. I'm going to
Okay.
roll. I'm going to roll, and I'm going to try to slice his ankle.
Okay.
That's a 17 with hope, and then I'm going
That
to
lands.
use my +2 for heir to the throne.
That you should save your
Yeah.
hope because that lands.
Okay.
17 hits.
All right.
Okay.
And that is a 10 damage. Can I re-roll that and mark a stress? I think I can. I think I have let's see. Oh yeah, I can spend oh, that's magic damage. Okay, never mind. So we'll just say 10.
Okay. So, friends, as you take this damage, it feels the same as the rest of this duel has felt so far, except you start to feel blood pooling at
In my boot.
in your boot. And you look down at your dueling bracelet, and it's still on your wrist. But you don't think you're supposed to be bleeding in these fights.
Oh my god.
I think canonically, I would not mark an armor slot. I think that gets through everything. So he just takes an HP damage. And he looks down and then up at Almi, who's kind of like coming out of a roll, I think.
Yeah.
And
And then-
Almithara notices the blood too. And you also... Crayons, you don't know what's going on, but as you see the blood, Almithara, you remember a moment ago that look between your father and Reynald. And the reaction that Reynald had.
Almi's going to step back out of melee range. No, I'm just kidding.
You can. I got no hope left. I can't. I got no reactions.
No,
so,
no,
you know.
she notices the blood immediately, clocks it immediately, remembers the look, and she steps back and looks at her brother, and drops her knife. She drops her knife, and puts her hands down.
Okay.
She's done. She this is not what they agreed to. She's not gonna fight him anymore.
I think there's a shared moment of of puzzlement and then anger, but then Kranz looks around at what is supposed to be essentially a consecration. Like he knows what he is supposed to do here. He's not a terribly bright guy, but he's smart enough to know that Almi is supposed to be the next leader of this house, and that one of the many theatrical performances that he has been required to take part in over their lives. This is just another one of them. And so he looks down at his boot, he sees blood kind of coming out of a slice in the heel of it. And he grinds his foot down into the sand so that it's hidden, and he hisses at her, he goes, "Pick it up." Like gesturing at her knife. And then crouches down, ready to attack.
She bends down into the sand and picks up her knife and then holds her brother's hand and looks at him and squeezes it and then holds the knife to his throat and says, "Yield."
Ooh.
Shifty. I think that is wow. Yeah, that gets through. I mean, I think like he would be puzzled by the fact that she was taking his hand, and he's like trying to goad her back into like, no, we have to do this. And then all of a sudden the blade is against his neck, and he like up on his almost his tiptoes, kind of back, and raises his hands and drops his blades.
He sees her in her eyes, and they have that sort of like shared twin mind. And so he sees the panic behind her eyes, like as she's holding his hand and she's trying to communicate to him that this is not what we want. Like, this is not for us. You know, she's hoping that he'll agree to like end this, you know?
I think she did exactly the right thing. She makes it not a choice. She bests him in physical combat. There's no way that he's fast enough, knowing now that there is no more shield.
Yeah, and she doesn't want to continue, so she's trying to tell him how she's terrified that like they'll take this too far, and she doesn't want to do that.
And
so
in this moment, he would
drop his blades.
Your father stands up and is like, "What are you doing? Continue."
There's like the blade at his neck. Crans would say, "My lord father, I have been, well, I believe the term is bested. I must concede." And starts to like try to like edge, like slowly step away.
Okay.
But from understanding that like he has to officially say that he yields. And so he looks her in the eye. You can see the same panic, the same like lack of understanding, the same lack of the same puzzlement. And he sees it reflected in her eyes and says loudly, "I yield."
Mm-hmm.
And as you back up from that blade and look up to where your father is kind of standing outraged, and the rest of the crowd there's all these mutters going through, and you can't really make out the words, but you do hear kind of like snippets of like pathetic and like, "This isn't what we were here for," and all these sorts of things, just kind of little glimpses of what's being said. And as you look up to the seat where your father is, you notice that your mother is gone. She's no longer,
I think,
in her seat.
Crans would immediately like flush like deep embarrassment and shame. And like there are ways in which he has been taught to properly duel, and there are certain niceties and societal expectations that must be observed. And so he bows to his sister because she's beaten him.
Mm-hmm.
And then turns and strides quickly, maybe a little too quickly, away back to his changing room, leaving his sword and dagger in the dust.
Almi would basically bow deeply to her father. She's terrified of him, honestly. Like, and she's not scared of anything, but her dad is really scary to her. She would bow. She would pick up his weapons and not in a rush, but she would walk after Krantz.
Okay. And in that moment of betrayal, I think, in this important moment in your journey, but also of finding each other, I think, in the middle of the betrayal. Like you two started that moment kind of outraged at each other, and you found each other at the end of it. in that moment, our flashback ends, and we will pick up with Alocrans and Almi's story on the next episode of the Naturolls. To be clear, we're going to pick up with the rest of the cast too, but we're going back to that.
Not
I didn't want
us.
I didn't want to make it sound like we got rid of everybody else. It's just these two now.
The confident two.
The trio's down to 2.